Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Got a little vintage toy review today. Something I picked up recently at auction that I was excited to get. And this is Grizzly Adams. Grizzly Adams, one of my favorite shows from childhood. I think mostly in reruns. Very cool figure. So the Grizzly Adams figure is based on the Big Jim body. That was a Mattel line of sort of He-Man action type figures. I don't mean He-Man as in Masters of the Universe, but as in tough guy action figures that eventually spread into a group called Big Jim's Pack, who were more almost superhero type characters. They did a few things with it, but among them, in terms of the body, this wasn't like a Big Jim figure per se, but in terms of the body, they also used it for Grizzly Adams and for Nakoma, who was another character from the Grizzly Adams television show. So, pretty decent figure in terms of the condition and the condition of the clothes. Now, he didn't come necessarily with a lot of gear, from what I can tell. He did come with an axe, and you'll notice the character, if I can find the spot back here. Okay, the character does have the movable arm, and that's the axe actually makes sense, but the arm motion was designed for the Big Jim figures because it was like a karate chop. And so I guess they said, oh, well, we got to do something, with that karate chop. We'll give him a hand axe, and that'll make sense. But he did have, bendable knees. The arms do not bend at the elbow. They're held steady, and I'm sure that's because of the karate motion. But you can move the head a bit. It could be that this one particularly doesn't move that well. I don't want to force it, obviously. But pretty good play value with a character like this. He came along at a time when sort of rugged, outdoorsy adventure shows were in vogue. There were quite a few in the 70s. And also toy lines like the Fisher-Price Adventure People. It was, I think, a bit of a reaction to urban living, to more computerization of things, which was really just beginning at that time. Obviously, we live in the post-computer apocalypse now in terms of how they impact our work and our lives. But there was sort of a get back to nature movement. It's somewhat tied with the hippies, but it's not entirely tied with the hippies. And I think there was also a desire for more shows that were rugged but not particularly violent. Doctari comes to mind, about a vet in Africa who takes care of animals. There's some fighting on the show and things of that nature, but it's not designed around fighting. And you get the same thing with Grizzly Adams. Now, he's based upon a real person, John Grizzly Adams, who is a California mountain man, lived in the early 1800s, died in 1860. He was known for taming and training bears. And so the show is loosely based on it. It was I think a TV movie that was so popular it became a series. Ran from 77 through 78, starring Dan Haggerty as Grizzly Adams. His bear is named Ben, not Gentle Ben, different bear, but his bear is named Ben, played by Bozo. Love the name of that bear. Bear's mega cute. It's a real tragedy that bears, you can't just walk up to a bear and give it a big hug because they look like the fluffiest, squishiest big babies in the world. And unfortunately, they would actually turn around and kill you. But say la vie. You also had Denver Pyle playing a prospector trapper. No, I guess not a prospector, but a trapper who lives out in the mountains. You had Nakoma, Native American. And so the shows were, again, generally not based around violence, but more about adventure and getting people out of danger and solving problems and things of that nature. It was very popular at the time, and I think maybe there's room for that right now for a lot of people who are maybe, we sadly live in a very violent time period. I think we've had some generations grow up in some ways without a lot of violence in their personal lives, and therefore it looks very attractive to them. And they seem to move towards violence as a solution for their problems very easily. Maybe some shows like this would help. I don't know. But so it went from 77 to 78, I think 37 episodes in 2 seasons. First season was 13 episodes. So it got like a full second season. Great shows. They're kind of mellow. He's not a man of action kind of character who's just like chasing around, running around, going crazy. He's kind of like, he's a mellow dude, and I like that. It's one of the things I like about the show. It's fun, it's interesting, but it's also kind of relaxing to sit and watch Grizzly Adams. And I don't know, you oftentimes come away from it with kind of a good feeling. I guess the term would be wholesome, as much as people like to make fun of that term nowadays. Grizzly Adams was a wholesome show, and I wish there were more of them, but there aren't. So they produced the toys about the same time, to take advantage of that. But he's really a great icon, I think, of the 1970s, of 70s entertainment and pop culture. And so I was really happy to get one of these figures at a pretty reasonable price. I think especially for the condition that he's in. No stains on the clothing, nice face sculpt, very clean figure. So there we go. Good old Grizzly Adams, Dan Haggerty. I think wasn't he in Repo Man? I think later on, Dan Haggerty had a few problems. I hope he mostly solved them at some point. But yeah, you could definitely see kids getting a lot of play value out of these outside. You can have them, I don't know, tromping around through the grass and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I think that's going to do it for this review. Again, it's just one simple figure. I would definitely like to collect the Nakoma figure and get some of the accessories to go with them. But for now, I'm going to be happy to have this guy up on the shelf. If you enjoyed this video and taking a look at old Grizzly Adams, maybe think about giving this video a like. You can maybe subscribe if you enjoy videos about pop culture. I do all sorts of things, from toys to movies to TV to books to comics. Try to cover a whole range of topics from the 1930s, even into the modern day. A lot of vintage stuff, a lot of retro stuff, a lot of sort of weird, cool stuff. At least weird and cool to me. And so you might want to subscribe, maybe share with a friend. I would really appreciate that, as it helps this little channel grow and maybe gives me an opportunity to do some other cool things in the future. Like maybe quit my job. No, probably not. Probably not. But anyways, in the meantime, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another, as old Grizzly Adams would have you do, because he was that kind of a guy, a peaceable sort of man who just wanted to live alone. And in fact, I believe he ran out into the wilderness in the show to escape being convicted of a crime he did not commit. So a little bit like the Incredible Hulk. But maybe be kind to one another out there and try to have a little bit of fun in this crazy life of ours. And I will see you again next time on Dad's Den of Pop Culture.